In this video, we're going to use a unit of reference, or actually various units of reference, to gauge scale of objects. In other words, their size relationships. We've already gone through and adjusted our proportions to what we think is pretty good, but now we're going to check the objects in relation to one another according to their size. So let's start by citing the width of one of the narrower objects. In this case, we'll just go with the tall can. So there's our unit of 1. Let's compare that width to the widths of the other objects. In this case, we see that the soup can is a bit narrower. We see that the tuna can is a bit wider than this tall can. Let's see how that looks in our drawing. Here's our units. There's our unit of 1. Compared to the soup can, we're looking pretty good. We're just a bit under. Compared to the tuna can, we're a little ways under that, more so than what we observed over here. So what I think is going on is I think this dimension here is actually just a bit too narrow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make this wider, but remember that when you're making something wider, you got to make it taller too. So you're scaling it up. Not only are you making it wider, but you're going to go tall with it too to try to maintain these 1 to 3 proportions. So how much more do we need to go? I don't know, maybe about so. Let's just take a look at if that dimension is going to work well. See, I'm lined up my fingers with the mark here. Compare. That's looking a little better now. That's more like what we saw over here. So let's make this wider. Stretch out our ellipse a little bit more. And let's make it a bit taller. And let's check our proportions. If this is a unit of 1, we want about 1, 2, and 3. So we're really close. We're really close. Let's call that good. We're much better than what we were. So I think what we're discovering is that we have a better relationship now between this object and these, size-wise. Let's check something else. What I want to know is I want to know if I've got these objects in relation to one another pretty good. And what I'm going to do is I've noticed that in looking at this can, let's take this dimension and compare it to the height of that. Let's see what happens there. So let's start out here in the natural world, taking a look at the tuna can and citing its width. About there, trying to adjust my thumb to the right spot, turn 90 degrees, and you can see that it's quite a bit shorter than the soup can. In fact, it takes us right about to the edge of the can, doesn't it? Right at about where the ellipse begins. So that's about, this is about a 1-to-1 relationship here. So let's measure that. We can even just do it with our fingers. Sorry, this one here is about a 1-to-1 relationship with this can right up to that point. So we're looking really good this way. So I think those proportions, the scale of these objects is working pretty well. Now let's just pause for a moment and ask ourselves, is there anything that's just not looking quite right? Is there anything that we might adjust? Well, for some reason this can looks a little bit small to me. Let's just check the dimension of this width with this one. And you can see we're really close to 1-to-1. Almost, it seems almost exact now. Maybe I moved my thumb. Let me try again. It's not a problem to check and double check and triple check. Sometimes, it's difficult to see. Okay, yeah, we're just under. So basically, since I made this wider, I'm thinking now this needs to be a little wider too. So if we check, let's check this one, and we're quite a ways narrower than that, more so than what we want. So I think we do need to make this a little bit wider. And as I look at the still life, that makes sense to me to do that. So we don't need to change the height, I don't think. I think we're pretty good height-wise. Let's just add a little bit of width to it. To get a more correct scale relationship. So there's a quick example of how to use a reference unit or even various reference units to gauge the scale of objects, or in other words, their size relationships to one another.